Hey everybody, I am Paste Magazine TV editor Allison Keene here with our editor-in-chief Josh Jackson, and we're talking the TV Power Rankings, the top 10 shows of the week as voted on by our Paste writers and editors. And it's more important than ever because we are in the middle of fall TV.
Yes, and there's so much TV out there, so many debuts happening right now, but there's also a lot of finales, and we have quite a few of them on our list this week, which will create some room for new shows coming up in the upcoming weeks.
Right, yeah, this is just a small sample of what we're watching and really enjoying right now, but let's dive right in. Number 10 this week is Riverdale.
Riverdale.
The Luke Perry tribute, which was a really beautiful thing. Of course, tragically, Luke Perry passed away earlier this year, and so this was Riverdale's opportunity with its season premiere to really address that trauma within the show and have a moment. And it was really interesting because they brought Shannon Doherty in as a new character.
What better way to pay tribute to Luke Perry?
It truly was. And you know, she actually has this really moving scene and leads the gang sort of in the Lord's Prayer. It was really beautiful for a show that's not known for being nuanced about many things. This actually did a really great job. Number 9 this week is Evil on CBS, which is a very interesting show.
It is. It's sort of falling into this X-Files for spirituality, where instead of a monster of the week, you have a demon or a possession.
Is it a demon?
But is it? Yes. And it's definitely very slowly unveiling an actual spiritual element where there's always explanations that could not necessarily be spiritual, but be technological this week.
Right, or psychological, or, I mean, it's interesting that the show is not necessarily interested in proving that demons do or not exist. They flat out in the show, yes, they exist. It's just whether or not these cases are ones of demonic possession or not. And it's actually a show that very smartly has these conversations about religion and science and spirituality and faith. And it's been a surprise and an interesting one to watch.
It's also kind of continuing on the year of the hot priest. We have, or priest to be.
Priest to be.
Priest to be. We have, Fleabag, Dairy Girls.
And now Mike Coulter playing a priest, perhaps. We shall see if he continues down this track. But yeah, this has been a good surprise week by week. Number 8 this week is another one of our favorites, David Makes Man on OWN. This is just a show that continues to be so great. In this past episode, there's a hurricane. And so, of course, that brings up, we are confined in a small space, kind of riding out the hurricane, all these emotional things that come out from the past and revelations. And we're seeing David really, as the title says, becoming a man, both, with his family and in what's happening in the Ville where he lives, where there's the drug trade and all that sort of thing. So, powerful episode.
Yeah, this show feels a little bit like, there's some movie stars have been coming to television. Television has had this renaissance. This show feels like really great indie filmmaking coming to television.
Beautiful cinematography. The cast is outstanding, most of whom are unknowns. And that kind of, I think, also adds to the feeling of this. It's very raw, very real. Yeah. It's a really excellent show. Number 7 this week is Primal from Adult Swim.
I really enjoyed this show. So this is the guy who
did Samurai Jack.
Yeah, did Samurai Jack, which was one of the greatest animated series of all time. Completely silent, the story of basically a caveman and a dinosaur.
Yeah.
It's brutal. It's a man versus nature story. But it is so beautifully animated and gripping and action packed. And it is brutal though. Like very quickly you've got some tragic things happening in this man's world, but he's this fighter and
just a story of companionship in this really dark time.
And
the creator is Genndy Tartakovsky, and what's interesting too is that Adult Swim aired one episode every night of the week, Monday through Friday, which is unusual as a rollout, but I think it's a show that people are going to come to later if you didn't watch it live, but definitely something different on the TV landscape. I mean, the silent aspect of it for sure.
I think people are really going to dig this when they see it. Exactly. And it's very short. I mean, it's an easy thing to just try and see if you like it.
Yeah. Number 6, Peaky Blinders.
6, Peaky Blinders.
I was going to say, speaking of brutal.
Speaking of brutal.
Blinders.
Yes. So yeah, I've loved this show. We had Cillian Murphy on the podcast a couple weeks ago. So if you want to learn more about the show, check that out. He has a lot of wonderful things to say about the experience of filming this historic show set in the period between World War I and World War II in the UK. And it's a just great gangster serial.
It's in season 5 now.
Season
on
5,
Netflix.
yes, on Netflix. So you can binge, binge all 5 seasons
if you can take it.
Yeah.
Number 5 this week is the Grouch sketch on Saturday Night Live.
I was saying, speaking of short, it's like a 9-minute sketch.
Oh, the trailer for it was even shorter than that. It was only maybe a couple minutes, or maybe I didn't. Was there an extended version?
It's longer than you.
Oh,
yeah, no, it is.
Maybe I just watched the trailer, but what I saw was outstanding.
It is fantastic. It's just sort of a near perfect parody of a movie that was crying out to be parodied. So the Joker as Oscar the Grouch.
David Harbour from Stranger Things.
It can be a little
Oscar.
on the nose. It definitely sort of telegraphs its jokes, but they're so funny. And
it was almost worth seeing Joker for.
Almost worth seeing Joker for. I did say that, yes. What it gave it. Those 2 hours I maybe wanted back at least now have a purpose in providing context for
it. Basically, the joke of giving everything a dark origin story, which for those of you who have seen like the Anne with an E on Netflix, like when there's going to be an Anne of Green Gables series, but it's going to have a dark origin. Like, do we need a dark origin? They actually say that in the trailer, and it's like the reviewers say no. Anne with an E is actually excellent though. But yeah, like does a Sesame Street character need a dark origin? Maybe not, but this trailer is hysterical. And yeah, well worth watching.
Yes, and it seems like the best thing that SNL is doing right now are their original show. I mean, the money that went into making this thing, I can't imagine. I mean, they filmed in
some of the same places the Joker did, which was outstanding.
You got the dancing on the steps. No, they don't show David Harbour dancing on the steps.
True.
But you definitely see the same steps and see it's got the same feel, and it was shot the same way.
I mean, SNL, I think, has been struggling for relevancy for a very long time at this point. And, the pieces that tend to break out are these produced shorts rather than the live action stuff. So, we'll see if they start leaning into that more again, like they did in the Lonely Island era.
They're mostly just leaning into celebrity politics that where the joke is here's a celebrity playing a politician more than actual jokes. So
exactly. So we'll see. But for this week, The Grouch was incredible. Number 4 is Righteous Gemstones, which had its season. Sorry, not to scare you. Yeah. Not series finale. Season finale.
Season finale. And yes, I can't wait for this to come back. So this is a show that I thought took a little bit of time to get its legs, and it just keeps getting better and better. And this finale was hysterical, but it was also, well, there's one scene in it at an Outback Steakhouse where I don't know how Edie Patterson and Tim Baltz aren't cracking up filming this scene. Maybe it took a bunch of takes, but I was cracking up watching it.
Outstanding. It's a monologue that you think you know where it's going, and it just keeps taking these twists, and you're just sitting there for the ride like, wow, this is
fantastic. But at the same time, there's redemption here that I don't think I was expecting in a show like this. I mean, it has been over the top and ridiculous and parodying the sort of televangelist world, but it has proven to have a little more heart than I would have ever expected a show like this from Danny McBride to have. And
when it does that, I think it's really when it's at its best.
I loved the redemption finale and then where it goes from there. Yeah.
It set up an interesting season 2. But yeah, for me, the show wasn't necessarily one of my favorites. I enjoyed it week to week, but I think, when they did the emotional stuff, when they did the family drama, that's really when it landed the best.
Yes, absolutely.
Number 3 this week is Lodge 49. Now, Lodge 49, we're always a week behind on, so this is not the season finale. This is the penultimate episode, which I
have seen the season finale.
Josh has watched the season finale, but I have not yet. So no spoilers, but the penultimate episode was so joyous. It brought all the characters together. This is such a wonderful, weird, quirky show.
It was definitely the best episode of the season. Yeah. They go to Mexico and everybody's there. There's so much craziness happening. It is one of my favorite shows from this year.
There are hijinks.
I know
there are.
I know not a lot of people are watching Lodge 49, and I really hope it gets another season because there's so much that the place. It's such a well-written show. The dialogue, the impassioned speeches, the monologues.
The casting is outstanding.
The cast delivering it. It's It's a beautiful show.
It makes you feel good to watch it. There's so many shows that are good, but then you kind of, they're intense or they're difficult, and you watch it and you're just like, wow, I need a breather. But Lodge 49 is the breather. Like Lodge 49 is the show you watch to just like chill out and just experience a show.
Yeah, after watching some of the darker stuff here coming, but no, it's filled with goodness and sweetness and light and characters who, while they struggle and have all kinds of problems and don't always act the way they should act, there's a beautiful heart to it. And the lodge itself just feels like this place of community that has lost so much in our culture right now.
Absolutely. So yeah, Lodge 49 still outstanding, and hopefully we'll get a season 3.
Yeah.
Number 2 this week, El Camino, the Breaking Bad movie. I didn't think that this needed to exist, but now that I have seen it, I'm glad that it does.
Well, and that's been the case with Vince Gilligan and this universe, the Breaking Bad-averse. Breaking Bad ended on such a perfect note. Those last 6 episodes of the final season were some of the best. Actually, we called it the best TV show of the decade.
It's the best TV show of the
decade. Partly because of how well it stuck the landing.
Yes.
And so there's this sense of, people are going to ruin this thing that I love by creating more things. And Vince Gilligan has now proven a couple times that he can do it. With Better Call Saul, with the prequel that none of us knew that we needed, but has been fantastic. And then I thought El Camino was everything I wanted out of it. I don't understand. I know there's been some negative reviews. I disagree so much.
Some people said it feels like fanfic. And I say, so it was great. It was very satisfying. Again, the finale Felina was one of the best finales of all time. So, did we need to continue the story? I say yes, because frankly, Jesse never, and Aaron Paul specifically, never got the attention really that he deserved during the show, because Bryan Cranston was so overwhelmingly amazing. But this really gave Jesse his moment, and it gave Aaron Paul an amazing opportunity to shine. And it also just left fans, again, it's a second satisfying finale for Breaking Bad. Yeah. And it was really, really great. I really enjoyed it.
As Walter White became the villain of this show, instead of the anti-hero, Jesse as a character was the hero of the story, and really left that story and kind of, it was satisfying in a way, but it was such a small part of the overall story.
We wanted Jesse to be okay.
We did want Jesse to be okay.
El Camino essentially gave us.
He's not okay as the story starts. He went through some stuff.
Oh yeah.
But it is such a fun re-entry into that world to see him with his misadventures going forward, and to see, there are moments where it brings in some of the old cast and including
great
Walter White,
great cameos.
But most of them were just so satisfying and didn't feel as much like fanfic as part of the story.
Right. And what's really interesting is we have a Breaking Bad timeline on the site now, which puts everything from Better Call Saul all the way through El Camino in chronological order, which
there's a lot.
If you're a fan, you'll know that all of those shows skip around in time a lot. So reading it out in that way really contextualizes the show, all the shows really, in these stories in new ways. So definitely encourage you to check that out, pacemagazine.com. But
so I guess it ends with Cinnabon in the time.
It does, and we don't exactly know when that is. There's some speculation there, so check that out. But number 1 this week, of course, our favorite and has been throughout the season, Succession, which had its season finale,
and
which again
stuck the landing on the season finale and set up season 3 beautifully.
When we were coming with the list, it was the only thing that could kick off El Camino, the Breaking Bad movie we've been waiting for so long, would be the Succession finale. It was that good. It's just absolutely incredible.
We went into the finale with so many questions, and that had been teased in the episode before.
Yeah, whose head's gonna roll and who's gonna take over the company.
It just worked. You saw the dysfunction at its pinnacle in the story, as they're talking about who's going to take the fall. And
they're all in this cruise
very
together,
casually,
or this yacht together.
Who's going to be the sacrificial lamb, and It's hard to watch at times,
Yeah,
but
the Succession's infamously awkward dinner scenes. This is high among them. But they're all put together on this yacht, and that sort of creates this uncomfortable closeness. And the real thing, though, is that it sets up season 3 so well by upending the social order of the family entirely in ways that feel completely organic. But the journey that all of these characters have been on, I mean, the places that it ended for each of them was really incredible.
Felt perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a finale that I think had social media talking. It had us talking.
It's hard to break through.
You just wanted to it's that water. It's the only real water cooler show on right now,
which we didn't think was going to happen after Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Was there going to be another
HBO
show
again?
HBO again,
because they're coming on weekly and not dumped all at once. Even great shows with great last episodes, when you just get it thrown at you, it doesn't have this kind of societal impact, cultural impact.
I mean, HBO really started the Sunday night prestige TV thing. They made appointment television on Sunday nights something that people are used to. And so, Sunday nights feels like HBO. And,
with the 1-2 punch of Succession and Righteous Gemstones.
It's also a great combo.
Which feel like they complement each other. I mean, there's so many parallels between those shows of the patriarch and the disappointing children and the weird dynamic of wanting father's love and respect, but pushing back against them. And, but where Succession, there's only dark notes. Righteous Gemstones, there's both comedy and a little bit of
Succession is still one of the funniest shows I think of the year.
Very
and it may be the best show of the year. Time will tell, but it's certainly been an outstanding.
There's Fleabag, there's Dark Crystal, there's some good competition there.
There's good competition,
but it may end up in that spot.
Absolutely outstanding. So that's it for Succession, and that's it for us. Thank you for joining us at the Pace Studio here in Atlanta, and tune in next week to find out what our favorite picks are from the week that was. Bye.